Ariel Helwani. He covers the sport of MMA, UFC for the mothership, and he was there to cover the Conor McGregor fight this weekend, Dustin Poirier. And he's set to join us here on the program. More phone calls coming up as well. What did you expect to happen this weekend, Ariel?
If I'm being honest, I expected Conor McGregor to win that fight, and that's no knock on Dustin Poirier. I just thought, considering how their first fight went 6.5 years ago, and considering how Conor looked and how he felt and what he was saying, I thought he was going to win. But I'm not surprised, and it really bothered me to hear the disrespect that Dustin was getting leading up to this fight, because I think a lot of casual fans just tune in for Conor fights and they say, oh, he beat him 6.5 years ago in less than 2 minutes. It's going to be a cakewalk. Dustin Poirier is one of the 10 best fighters on the planet, and no one should really be shocked by what he did on Saturday.
But if you're a casual fan, should you want to know more about Poirier or the condition of McGregor as he moves forward in his career?
I mean, obviously, Conor's the biggest star in the history of the sport, so I think his next move is probably what's of most interest to fans. We live in this culture. One thing that really bothers me is, especially with fighting, these memes and stuff of him being, knocked out on the ground and mocking the fighters and stuff like that. Like, I think people are reveling in his quote unquote demise. I think I was on your show the Monday after his first fight, his first loss to Nathan Diaz, and everyone back then in 2016 was reveling in his demise. And what did he do? He dusted himself off and he won the rematch. So I suspect the same thing will happen here.
He's embraced the bad guy, right?
Honestly, if you
or the villain, how's that?
You know what? In the past, yes, but the last year or so, we have seen a change in his demeanor and in his character, so to speak. First of all, this fight started with him pledging to donate $500,000 to Dustin's charity. Dustin has this amazing charity in Louisiana called the Good Fight Foundation, where he builds playgrounds and helps kids less fortunate. So that's how this really started. So he is donating $500,000. He's done a lot for his community back home in Ireland. If you look at the talk leading up to the fight, there was no trash talk. If you look at the video and the scenes after the fight, no trash talk, hugging, saying, I'm happy for you. So this isn't the Conor who fought Floyd. He's trying to change. Now, if he fights a guy like Khabib, who he intensely hates, I suspect the old Conor could come back.
Yeah, is that good for the sport that Conor McGregor is the new and improved Conor McGregor?
So leading up to this fight, I had a lot of people say, like, oh, I miss the trash talking Conor, right? Like, I want the showman. I want the braggadocious guy who's going to go out there and hurl these insults. I personally think that he fights better this way, but maybe there's something to be said for going back to the old Conor. Maybe there's something to be said for that guy who was, poking the bear, trying to climb the ladder, trying to get everyone's attention. Maybe that gave him a little oomph. I feel like that's looking into it a little too much. But yes, there's no doubt about it. People fell in love with this guy, not because he was donating money to his opponent's charity. They fell in love with him because he was, calling people names and pretty much turning the whole sport upside down. So yes, there's absolutely a point to be made there.
Did Khabib get McGregor's attention, do you think, when he kind of called, like, I'm trying to understand this because he's just saying basically, hey, come on, you got something to say, come on in. Let's, if I'm Khabib, I'm going like, why?
Yeah. So, this whole thing has been sort of blown out of proportion. You recall back in July of 2010 at the Boys and Girls Club in Stamford, Connecticut, there was something dubbed as the decision. You remember that, right?
I vaguely recall that, yes.
Yeah, we found out if LeBron likes to bite his nails and all that stuff. Well, this was worse than that decision. I never thought I'd see a worse decision than the one in 2010, but what they've done with Khabib has been worse because there is no decision to be made. This guy has been very clear about his intentions. His father passed away. His mother, who he's very close to, has said, I don't want you to fight without your father by your side. And he is respecting that. We need to leave the guy alone. We need to let him go off onto the sunset. If he wants to come back in 2 years, great. But take the belt away, vacate it. To be honest, this fight on Saturday should have been for the vacant title. And so I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he was coming back if Conor won. And I certainly don't think he's coming back now that Dustin Poirier won, because he beat Dustin Poirier in 2019. There's really no reason, no purpose for him to come back at this time. And I wish they would just leave him alone.
How would you sum up the last 10 months for UFC?
Oh my gosh. It has been a whirlwind. So as you know, they were the first ones to come back. They wanted to come back in April. They were told to stand down by Disney in the state of California. Dana White forged on. Much to the chagrin of some. He put on the events in Florida and then in Vegas and in Abu Dhabi. I think that as a result of being first, and though they rolled the dice, and I even had reservations about them coming back so soon in the pandemic, they have earned a lot of new fans, and a lot of people who never spoke to me about MMA, friends, family, neighbors, now love the sport because in May, June, and July, there was nothing going on. There was nothing to gamble on, and they fell in love with the sport. So the UFC capitalized on that. And if you look at the numbers for this pay-per-view, they're saying 1.6 to 1.8 million. That's a smashing success.
When does a fighter get old in UFC?
Well, my co-host, Daniel Cormier, is 41, and he just retired. And he was a two-time Olympian. So it depends on your career. It also depends on the damage that you take. There's a lot of guys who get into these firefights each and every time they fight, and come 31, 32, 33, they start to slow down. You have other guys like Khabib, who's in his early 30s, who's taken almost no damage throughout his career, and I suspect he could fight into his 40s. Conor, this was his first time that he'd ever been KO'd or TKO'd. He had never really taken this kind of damage in a fight. I mean, of course, he'd been submitted, but that's different, right? So I was saying, if he still wants to do this, he could do this into his late 30s. So it really depends. I mean, one of the greatest fighters of all time, Randy Couture, started fighting in his mid-30s and went into his mid-40s. So it's not quite like baseball, basketball, football, where you start when you're early 20s and then you're kind of done by your mid to late 30s. It's a little different in that regard.
I was talking to the wife last night, and we were wondering where we could take the kids. And I was wondering, can you vacation on Fight Island?
If you have a lot of money, and also if you have some connections, Fight Island is not really like a fight. It's just a place. It's brilliant marketing on their part. They have been to quote unquote Fight Island many times in the past. In fact, I was there 11 years ago. It's Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. And the geniuses at the UFC dubbed it Fight Island, and to their credit, it caught on. But they did have fans in attendance, so people did fly in from all over, they said, and they had around 2,000 for this fight. The prices were astronomical. Like, I think that the cheapest ticket was like 2,000, 2,500, something like that. So yes, you could go to Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and if you look at the scenes over there, it seems like they're handling the pandemic a little better than we are over here. But you're not really going to see much if you go to quote unquote Fight Island, because it's basically just an arena and a hotel.
Yeah, as long as it's all inclusive. That's what my wife wanted to know. Yeah. Like we could do a ground and pound restaurant. It could be like a steakhouse.
Yes. Little arm bar.
Arm bar. Yeah, the arm bar. I love that.
Great. I thought of that off the top of my head, by the way.
That's well done. Hey, I would grab it. I'd trademark that thing. The arm bar. Let Conor McGregor know.
You know what? I think he's doing pretty well with his whiskey and all his other endeavors. I might hold on to that one. Dana White will probably watch this and steal it and trademark it within the next 10 minutes, though.
Great to talk to you, Ariel. Thanks for joining us as always, buddy.
Anytime. Thank you.
I like that. The arm bar. Ariel Helwani.